Hello, BookTube. As you've been able to tell, probably a lot of my recent mail openings have not gone well. I've not been able to upload the videos, but I miss it. I'm going to keep trying for the rest of 2023. I'll come to some sort of grand, sweeping, categorical decision at the end of the year. I'm not going to do that in summer. So I figured we would try a small mail haul, just a few packages, and see if we can get through, see if I can get through a small number of packages without ranting for 45 minutes. So let's try these. There are no boxes, just 3 little unassuming packages. See if we can get through them. Although I've had a lot of emails from a lot of you. Of course, I leave my email on every video. Feel free to email me about anything. I've had a lot of emails from a lot of you in the last 24 hours saying that the approach that I took yesterday, just to show you some new arrivals, not necessarily all of them, but some of them, and talk about that for 30 minutes was fine. So there is an alternative. If I decide that this just isn't going to work, opening packages on camera isn't going to work, there is an alternative. So let's see. This first one is from the great folks at Europa Editions. Always like getting stuff from them. This is a December release. This comes out in December. This is The Bridesmen by Sayon Librett. This lovely, lovely, Europa Editions has the French flaps. They just do a lovely job with their paperbacks. Although a Volga Tale is a Europa Edition hardcover that we saw yesterday. So let's see here. The pub sheet says that this is from one of the most important voices in contemporary Hebrew literature. I don't know much about contemporary Hebrew literature. That is fascinating. That's how contemporary is The Bridesmen. 2020. And this is translated from the Hebrew by Gila Khan Hoffman. Let's see here. Years before, as a young boy, Misha, an Israeli expat in Los Angeles working as a ghostwriter, receives an unexpected invitation. Adela, married to his beloved uncle, has bought him a ticket to Israel and booked a boutique hotel so that he can return home and meet with her. Years before, as a boy, he was a bridesman at Adela's wedding. He remembers her as a rebellious young woman, an orphan and an outsider who was mocked by his close-knit family of Persian Jews. Misha is stunned by the Adela of today, poised, confident, and with nothing of the uneasy woman he remembers from the past. When she reveals the true story of her life, powerful memories resurface in Misha, although nothing can prepare him for the surprise she has in store for him. Oh, that sounds really good. And this copy comes loaded with praise for this author, who lives in Tel Aviv. So now I'm curious to know, those of you who maybe do know about contemporary Hebrew literature, now I'm curious to know, how big a name is this? How big a deal is this? I'm not even sure I remember off the top of my head if this author has ever been translated into English before in America. I'll have a lot of looking into, but this is a tiny little thing, so I have plenty of time. This is probably the finished copy, but I have plenty of time to get to it. Good. Translated literature. Always up for translated literature. Then we'll do this next one. It feels like a hardcover. Let's see. Let's see what we have here. Oh, all right. It is indeed a hardcover. Oh, I think we're going to get through this just fine. We're 2 for 2. This comes out in early October. This is Michael Livingston. This is by Michael Livingston, and it is called Agincourt, Battle of the Scarred King, with a foreword by Bernard Cornwell, who wrote a terrific historical novel about Agincourt, the Battle of Agincourt. I'm not going to claim that I've read as many Agincourt histories as Jason Harrigan has, but I've read quite a few of them. I'd say at least 20. And I'm always up for a new one. Always. So this is the finished copy. I don't think we ever got an advanced copy of this. Let's see here. One of the most famous battles in English history, a defining part of the national myth. In this groundbreaking study, the author presents a new interpretation of Henry V's great victory. And he's the author of a book called Never Greater Slaughter, which is really, really ringing a bell with me. King Henry V's victory over the French armies at Agincourt on the 25th of October, 1415, is unquestionably one of the most famous battles in history. From Shakespeare's Band of Brothers speech to its appearance in numerous films, Agincourt rightfully has played among the handful of conflicts whose names are immediately recognized around the world. The English invasion of France in 1415 saw them take the French port of Harfleur after a long siege, following which Henry was left with a sick and weakened army, which he chose to march across Normandy to the port of Calais against the wishes of his senior commanders. The French had assembled a superior force and shattered the English army before finally blocking its route. The battle that followed was an overwhelming victory for the English, with the French suffering horrific casualties. Agincourt opened the door for Henry V's further conquests of France. This book provides a new look at the famous battle. The author goes back to the original sources, including the French battle plan that still survives to this day, and gives a new interpretation, one that challenges the traditional side of the battlefield itself. It's a thrilling new history that not only rewrites the battle as we know it, but also provides fresh insights into the men who fought and died there. Okay, all right. And the author teaches military and cultural history of the Middle Ages at the Citadel, the military college at South Carolina. He's an elected fellow of the Royal Historical Society, and he wrote a book on. He wrote a book called Never Greater Slaughter, which is ringing a bell. But he also wrote a book on the Battle of Crécy, which I must have seen. I must have. Something about this author is seeming awful familiar to me, but it's not coming to me. But a new book on Agincourt. And once again, for those of you who might want to put this on your list, this comes out in early October. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Cannot wait. I might do both of these tonight. I mean, that's 90 minutes reading. So I might do both of them tonight and then read The Bridesmen again later on, closer to its pub date. Then we have this. We'll finish up with this package. We're doing just fine. This last one is a priority mail package, so it might not be a book. It might be a book, but it might be a flagrant violation of rule number one. Rule number one on this channel, for those of you who are new, I can't help but notice. I glanced the other day at my YouTube metrics. Some of them are visible when I'm posting a video, so I can't avoid seeing them. And I saw that after a long, very peaceful interval, the subscription count on this channel is going up. It's inching up. I don't know quite what to say about that, but that means there might be new people, and new people should be advised that rule number one on this channel is don't send me a book. Publishers send me books, and I also have the Brattle Bookshop here in Boston. I don't need you to go to the bother of waiting at the post office to mail me books, especially not blindly. If you really want me to have book X, Y, or Z, email me and ask me whether or not I need or want book X, Y, or Z. Chances are that I will either have it or I won't want it as a gift. I won't have any intention of keeping it, in which case there's no point in you sending it. But definitely check ahead of time. The priority mail envelopes are suspicious. They are, as the kids say, suspish, because publishers don't use them. They go bulk. So what have we got here? Ooh! Okay. All right, okay. Rule number one on this channel is don't send me a book. Rule number two on this channel is send me your tech, your technology. Send me your computers, your laptops, your iPads, your tablets of any kind. Send me your tech that's just sitting there on a shelf somewhere that you don't use. Wipe its memory, factory reset it, clean it up, try to find the power cord, and send it to me. Send it to me, where it will have an enthusiastic welcome. Isn't that what you want for it? You don't want it just sitting there. Isn't it gnawing at you just sitting there? Send me your tech. And someone has done that. Someone has sent me the Nook GlowLight 4, which is, I've been fiddling with my e-readers for a while now recently, because it occurred to me how comfortable I am with my Kindle Oasis. I've just been so comfortable with that grip. But I noticed about a week ago that although I am comfortable with the grip, and although I have charging stations both in the little book room by my nightstand and also here on the fainting couch. So the number one complaint that people had about the Kindle Oasis is that you need to charge it more often than not. And that is a valid complaint for a lot of people who are taking this thing on a daily commute, where they're out and about, and they don't have access to a charging cord, and they don't want to have access to a charging cord. The thing needs to be charged more often. It draws more power, but it's not an issue for me. I don't take an e-reader out with me. I barely ever go out at all. So it's not an issue for me, and I really I've really enjoyed the brightness and the sort of sleek Star Trek feel of the Kindle Oasis. But I noticed last week that in a couple of situations, in a couple of angles, it does a lot of slipping in the hand. It's a sleek, smooth thing. I like it among the Kindles because it has page turn buttons, physical page turn buttons. But the slipping is a little bit annoying, and when it comes to e-readers, you are so spoiled for choice that you don't need to put up with any little irritation. If you don't want to, you don't need to. There'll be a version out there. And I was looking at my other e-readers. I have 2 Kobos, and I have 2 other Kindles. And the Kobos have physical page turn buttons, but they're a little bit wonky sometimes. Mine are a little bit wonky. And the 2 other Kindles that I have do not have physical page turn buttons. They're ergonomic delights. But if you like the page turn, then you know it's tough to go back. And that got me thinking about all the other e-readers that I have here. And I went and found this. An old Barnes & Noble Nook. That's a picture of me reading in a library. This is an old Barnes & Noble Nook. Emphasis on old. The old Nooks had this squat form factor, so they fit really comfortably in the hand. And they have, I don't know if you're going to be able to make it out, they have these raised ridges. Those are page turn buttons. They aren't actual buttons like on the Kindle, but they are. You can manually turn the pages on this thing. But look at this device. It has been through the Battle of Agincourt. I believe this was at the Battle of Agincourt. It's worn, and it has barely any memory, and that memory is awful strange. It's partitioned in some awful ways, awful mysterious ways, so that it looks to me, when you call up the settings on this device, it looks to me like it has room, plenty of room for ebooks, which don't take up much space. But you try adding something, and it says, no, memory full. And I've done all the online tutorials to try and figure out, how to talk this thing into accepting its own partition. Or I could put a memory card. There's a slot on the side for a card. I haven't done that. I don't think that this has a card in it. Not that it would recognize it anyway. But it's. I think the problem is that it's just an old device. This is probably 15 years old. It's probably the original Nook of that configuration. This thing, though, a Nook GlowLight 4. Let's open this up and take a look. It'll be a regular unboxing video. Good Lord. Now, the sender, if you're watching, thank you very much for sending this. The sender said exactly what should be said about your tech, which is that this thing was never used. It was got and never used. That is the perfect situation for you to send me your tech. Ooh. All right, look at that. Okay, so good that we have this here. This is the exact same size. If anything, the older Nook is bigger. So this shares with the older Nook the idea that it is perfectly palm-sized. It is sitting there in your hand. It doesn't have the raised ridges. Instead, it has panels on the side. But they are still mechanical page turn buttons. And here we have the charging cable, which is USB-C. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And one of the benefits of the Kindle, of this handheld, the basic Nook line, not color, just their basic e-reader. One of the benefits, there are a couple of benefits here. One is USB-C. That's great. But also, unlike the Kindles, the power cord, the power button for this thing is up at the top. So you're not going to touch it accidentally. Whereas with the Kindle power button, it's at the bottom, right where you rest it in your hand. I've lost count of how many times I've accidentally turned my Kindle off, put it in sleep mode. I have to, that blink of awareness. Oh, right, I hit the wrong button because it's exactly where it rests in my hand. So I better turn it back on. Sometimes that costs me a page. It costs little delays. It's a thing you can train yourself with. I think Kindle didn't really make a big deal out of putting the power button down there because they were assuming that everybody would get a case for their Kindle. If you have a case, the problem is solved because the case is magnetized, so it will wake the device when you open the case. But I don't have cases for my e-readers. So it is a problem for me. That's number one. And number two, for all the basic Kindles, the Paperwhite and the basic Kindle, is that they don't have this. That little N is a home button. So no matter where you are in this thing, no matter where you're navigating, inside your own notes, inside your own annotations, deep inside a text, in the settings, no matter where you are on this device, you can go home just by touching that button. You don't have to figure out where the device is going to give you the option to go back to the previous screen or to your library or whatever. And on the Kindle and the Kobo, you do. You do have to. Again, it's not a big deal with all these things. None of this is a big deal, but like I said, you're spoiled for choices. So why have anything that annoys you? With the Kobos, the power button is up on the back of the device, so that you absolutely cannot touch it without meaning to. And the same thing here. But you can see this is a different setup. This is the newer, souped-up version of my old Nook. How wonderful! So I just need to see how this works. In the box we have just a tiny little instruction sheet. The thing about these very basic e-ink readers is that they are self-evident. How to use them is basically self-evident, as it should be, because these are meant to be books. This will last. This is not the Kindle Oasis. This will last forever on a charge. No matter how much you read on it, it will last forever on a charge. And it's nice and durable. The Nook GlowLight 4 comes with a tough screen protector pre-installed on the device. You don't have to do it yourself and get out a credit card and try to smooth out the air bubbles. It's just done on the device, and it's nice and solid. A good, solid, lightweight thing. This is much lighter than than this. Oh, this thing it's old. It's got dirt worked into it on every corner. It's a little bit sticky. That no amount of cleaning can get rid of that. This thing, I think, has served its purpose. I really think it has gone as long as it can go. I don't know if this will. Does this have any power? Okay, it does. So you turn it on, and then you swipe along the bottom to open the device. And this device has 118 books on it. When I want it to have 5,000 books on it, it has 118 books on it. I'm pretty sure it's completely full. I don't know. I don't want to have tech myself that I don't use. I have a lot of fond memories associated with this thing. I've used a lot of it. But this is the new improved version. I don't think it has a light of any kind. I think it's just a very basic standard Nook. The basic standard Nook. But generations after this one. So, I think I may upgrade. Now, we'll have to see. I will do a follow-up video because I want to see how much memory this has and whether or not Barnes & Noble has fixed the memory partition problems. I don't want this thing telling me that it's full when it's not. If there is a micro SD card in here, I will take it out and put it in this one. I'm assuming that I can do that. Yes? No? Yes? No? Oh my God, have I discovered a difference? Oh, I think I have. This Nook does not appear to have a slot for a micro SD card. Okay, I cannot add to this at all. So now I'm wondering what its onboard memory is and all that sort of stuff. I'll find out all of that. Oh my, thank you so much. I'm going to play with this so much. High time that I upgraded my Nook, my basic Nook. It's the one big one from all these categories I don't have. I have two Kobos, but I don't have their basic. I don't have their version of this. And then I have 3 Kindles. I have the Paperwhite, the new Kindle Basic with blue, and then the Kindle Oasis. And now I have a Nook. And this, in addition to wondering, what this can do, put it through its paces, it's also sentimental, right? Because I spent a quarter of a century working at Barnes & Noble. I was there when we rolled out these devices. I was there when we rolled out the very first ones, when none of us knew what we were doing or what we were talking about. Oh boy. Okay. Well, this is not a bad mail haul at all. And we have a very interesting piece of translated fiction. Always up for more of that. We have a new history of the Battle of Agincourt, and I have some new tech. I have a Nook GlowLight 4. Don't know how recent this is. I don't know if they're still making Nooks. I don't need to know anymore. Once upon a time, when I worked at the store at the Prudential Center, which doesn't exist anymore, I noticed the way to talk with the most customers in a day was to learn the Nooks and talk about them up in the Nook area. So I gladly abandoned the information desk. Got no traffic at all. There was no lunch rush. The shelving books in the back section of the store was a dead experience. You'd be just shelving books on your own. You would never talk to a customer. I was there to talk to customers. So I went where the customers were and started talking about Nooks with customers. But this was after that time. So I don't know. I never had to learn anything about this. I will now gladly do that. So an upgrade to my Nook. Wonderful. All right. So that's rule number 2. Send me your tech. But anyway, I'm going to wrap this up for now. This was a successful mail haul. And we'll see if we can lead to another one. See if we can do this again. But I'll wrap this up for now, and I will see you soon. Thank you, BookTube.